602.
Copy, monitoring step 6. And we see passive.
Copy.
And you can see they're already getting through those milestones for that abort command as the HTV continues to move successfully through its timeline. About 0.26 meters away. That's the rate that it's moving away from the space station, now 135 meters. But that keep out sphere is just has the ability for those two astronauts to send a command if they see anything wrong. They have the best vantage point of the HTV from their workstation aboard the International Space Station. They're inside the cupola. It's a 7-bay window that looks right down towards the Earth. They're getting great views of the HTV and the Andes Mountains below them as the International Space Station and Kounotori 8 fly 259 statute miles right over the west coast of Chile over the Andes Mountains. Just a few meters away from the keep out sphere at this point. HTV tracking 178 meters away. Again, that's about 200 meters to get outside the keep out sphere. We have a question from Vance who's asking what happens once it's deorbited. Will the whole thing completely burn up upon reentry? Yes, it will. There's that HTV loaded with trash and old nickel hydrogen batteries. It'll make its flight around the Earth for a little longer and start a series of 3 deorbit burns starting on Saturday afternoon U.S. time, carrying it through very late Saturday night U.S. time. That'll take it into the next day, Sunday, Japan time. Those 3 maneuvers will take the whole thing to deorbit into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. A great flight of HTV so far, just a few meters away from the keep out sphere.
Station Houston for HTV.
Go ahead.
Yes, you guys have a go in step 7 of procedure 1.420, and we are complete in procedure 1.602.
Okay, copy. Go for step 7 in 1.420. Say things coming on.
Copy.
Things in place.
So that was a good read from Alex Kanellakos up to the 2 NASA astronauts in the cupola monitoring HTV's departure. It has crossed the keep out sphere. The next step is a very long burn to take it from the keep out sphere out to the approach ellipsoid. That's about 1 kilometer away. This burn will be a long one, about 70 seconds, and will increase the speed of HTV's departure from where it currently is at just a little more than 0.4 meters per second to a little more than 1.2 meters per second.
Station Houston for HTV. HTV has exited the 200-meter keep-out sphere.
Copy that, Alex. And we wanted to send our congratulations to JAXA and all the teams today on a great and successful mission. It was our honor to have Kounotori on board.
And we thank you guys for all your hard work with the entire HTV-8 mission. And for HTV-8, Kicho na Kamotsu to Kagaku no Teikyo ni kansha shimashu. Godosupiru no Utsikushi fune.
Arigatou gozaimasu, Alex.
Some congratulatory words from both Christina Cook aboard the International Space Station and Alex Kanellakos here in Mission Control Houston, crossing the keep-out sphere successfully, heading towards that approach ellipsoid. Kounotori, 330 meters away from the International Space Station. A good report of that long burn, that departure burn that's about 70 seconds long. That was completed. Everything looked good. The range rate, that's the rate at which HTV Kounotori is departing, is starting to get up a little bit. We're now nearing 0.7 meters per second. That increase in velocity will take it away from the International Space Station towards the approach ellipsoid. This is another sphere drawn around the International Space Station. Once it crosses that approach ellipsoid, joint operations for HTV flight controllers and the International Space Station flight controllers will cease. The flight of Kounotori will be handed over to HTV. That'll carry it through the rest of its journey, through the next day and a half until it's deorbited into Earth's atmosphere over the Pacific Ocean. A good flight of Kounotori so far, 387 meters away. The space station and Kounotori flying 265 statute miles over the South Atlantic Ocean, east off the coast of Argentina.
station on 2, node 1 camera port is returned to nominal config.
Copy, thanks, Drew.
Kounotori flying 590 meters away from the space station now. Again, we're heading towards 1,000. That'll put it a kilometer away and cross the approach ellipsoid and cease joint operations between the International Space Station and the HTV flight controllers that are over in Tsukuba, Japan at HTV Flight Control. Again, that last departure burn, once it crossed the keep out sphere, was complete. That rate right where it's supposed to be, just about now at about 1.4 meters per second. Exiting the heading towards that approach ellipsoid about a kilometer away. HTV continuing to depart as planned, 740 meters away from the space station and counting. Is heading towards that approach ellipsoid. That'll end the joint operations between the International Space Station and HTV Flight Control. HTV Flight Control over in Tsukuba, Japan will take control of the vehicle and see its deorbit burn. We have another Ask NASA question about the deorbit. How long will it take HTV-8 to re-enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up over the Pacific Ocean? This is the last departure burn for International Space Station joint operations. Again, once it crosses the approach ellipsoid about 1,000 meters away, it'll continue to fly around the Earth for just about another day and a half. The next departure burn will happen just about 1:30 p.m. Central Time today. It'll have a controlled flight continuing to orbit the Earth until tomorrow afternoon. There's again 3 departure burns that start tomorrow afternoon U.S. time. That's Saturday, November 2nd. Those 3 departure burns are spread out along a few hours. So that last burn expected sometime Saturday night, U.S. time. That'll put it Sunday morning, Japan time. Again, the flight of HTV at that point being controlled by HTV Control. Keep sending in your questions using the hashtag AskNASA. We're continuing to track Kounotori 8 departing the International Space Station after being released 12:21 p.m. Central Time from the grips of the Canadarm2 by Christina Cook and Jessica Meir aboard the space station. Kounotori, 956 meters away from the space station. We'll wait for confirmation that it crosses the approach ellipsoid.
Station Houston for HTV. HTV has exited the approach ellipsoid.
You can copy.
And with that, confirmation that HTV has exited the approach ellipsoid. Joint operations between International Space Station Flight Control teams and HTV Flight Control have ceased. HTV Flight will take over operations of HTV until it's deorbited Saturday night. The International Space Station and HTV flying 268 statute miles over the South Atlantic Ocean, about to go into an orbital sunset. That'll wrap up our coverage of HTV's departure, a successful departure for the Japanese cargo craft that completed 34 days aboard the International Space Station. That will depart some of the cargo and take trash away from the space station, but there's more coming to the International Space Station. That's on the 19th anniversary of continuous human habitation aboard the International Space Station. You can see more about some of the countdown milestones for NG-12, Northrop Grumman's 12th cargo resupply mission. We'll have a pre-launch conference today at 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern p.m. You can catch that here in just less than a half an hour. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time tomorrow morning on the 19th anniversary of continuous human habitation, when Bill Shepard and the crew of Expedition 1 first entered the International Space Station to begin that human habitation. On that day, 8:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, you can watch our launch coverage. That launch, 8:59 a.m. Central, 9:59 Eastern. On Monday, you can see the Northrop Grumman's Cygnus captured by the Christina Cook and Jessica Meir swapping positions. Jessica Meir taking the controls of the robotic arm that time. That capture coverage to start at 1:45 a.m. Central Time, 2:45 Eastern on Monday, November 4th. Capture is set for 5:30 a.m. Central Time, 6:30 Eastern. That'll wrap up our coverage of HTV. Tune in to all the coverage for NG-12, Northrop Grumman's 12th cargo resupply mission. This is Mission Control Houston.